Hey, I'm Bill Marion, and this is A Nose for Life. I've waited a long time to do a video about the belief in UFOs. Everyone should watch this video regardless of your personal beliefs or why you hold those beliefs. This video is not intended to debunk or convince you of anything. In this video, I intend on presenting the facts from an entirely different perspective. Well, not entirely. Actually, there are a lot of people who think about UFOs the same way I do. So here's what I'm asking you to do. First, comments are not only welcomed, but encouraged. If you do leave a comment, good or bad, I'm asking that you subscribe to our channel as a personal favor and click the bell for notifications. We're trying to grow a very unique video community, and we can't do that without your help. By commenting, we welcome you to our community, and we don't have to agree on everything to enjoy some good conversation. So let me say this ahead of time. If this is your first time to our channel, welcome. So first, we have to get rid of some myths, lies, propaganda, or whatever you want to call it. We begin our purge when it comes to the frequency of UFO sightings. Here are the facts. More people are reporting UFOs than ever before in history. You might not be seeing UFOs. I know I'm not. And you might not believe in UFOs. But there are literally, and I do mean literally, millions of people who claim to have seen a UFO. And if you're thinking these people are tinfoil hat-wearing crazy people, well, think again. There is an extremely large, educated, and well-funded group of people who not only believe in UFOs, but track and record them. One such group, located in Washington, D.C. of all places, is the nationally recognized NUFORC, or the National UFO Reporting Center. Even pilots, you know, those people who fly airplanes, they see UFOs all the time, and they report their encounters to NUFORC. No, I'm not kidding. Pilots actually report UFOs to a Washington, D.C. based organization, and it happens all the time. Before NUFORC, there was MUFON, or the Mutual UFO Network, and they're still around, fighting a different battle, and they're not exactly on the same team as NUFORC, but that's a whole other story, and one we don't have time to get into. But it doesn't stop there. The CIA is more than willing to share information they claim to have on UFOs. Sort of. I mean, when it comes to the CIA, who knows, am I right? Nevertheless, the pages they have devoted to the subject is worth your time, as in, if you have nothing else to do, you're totally bored, and you're trapped someplace with nothing else to do, and every website has crashed except for their website. In that case, it's worth your time. Here's where it gets interesting. People aren't actually reporting the classic flying saucers anymore. In fact, flying saucer sightings are way down. People are reporting things that have never been seen. Different shapes, sizes, colors, and even noises. Nevertheless, states like California are reporting more UFO sightings in the past few years than in the history of the state. The truth is that people, millions of people from all over the world, are seeing things in the sky both day and night that cannot be explained. And if you're thinking these people are backwoods drunken rednecks, well, some of them are. Reports are coming in from people from all walks of life, and pilots, yes, mainstream modern pilots, are seeing UFOs as regular as everyone else. Something is going on, so what is it? As always, I'll provide links in the description. Don't forget, I've asked you politely to watch all of this video, even if you don't agree with my assessment. And in full disclosure, my assessment comes with some bias. I'll explain later. But at least give me a chance, because my opinion on these sightings isn't being discussed enough, and it's a real shame. This leads me to another myth, or in my opinion, propaganda, that needs to be dismissed. It goes something like this. The government knows all about UFOs, but they're just not telling us. And the reason why is that it would disrupt faith-based beliefs, which would rip society to shreds. This is the biggest bunch of ignorant nonsense ever spewed from UFO enthusiasts, and this garbage is even adopted by science fiction writers.
I'm trying to pick this light up that is on the horizon. It's above the tree line, and I can't really make out what it is. I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up at all. Oh my gosh, what is that? It's hovering just above the tree line, and it's flickering. I'm not exactly sure what that is. It's doing some type of flicker. There it is again, and it seems to be flashing. It's changing locations. It seems to be moving in some type of rotation. There it goes again. It can't be an airplane because it's moving ever so slightly, and it seems to be changing colors. I'm not exactly sure what it is. It's going down and then back up. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, it's just right there, right in that it disappears, and then it just comes right back. I mean, there it is, there it is. And it seems to be moving, but I can't tell if it's stationary. I mean, it's been in that vicinity there, and it goes out again. I don't know if it's coming in and out of a time portal or not.
One of my absolute favorite times to be out in the forest, and of course you probably can't tell that I'm out in the forest right now, is at night, because there's creatures that come out at night, beautiful animals that don't really come out in the daytime. Most animals are nocturnal anyway, so it's a great time to come animal watch if you're quiet and not speaking into a cell phone like I am right now. But it's also a time where you are able to see lights that you don't normally even know are there, and from great distances. People who really love the woods but don't have a lot of experience in the woods, they don't really understand how light travels through the woods. And so a lot of UFO encounters are like the one that you just saw. So come on, let me show you how I pulled it off. First of all, I'm on a four-wheeler and I'm all the way down this pretty large hill. My parents live on top of this hill. And so I rigged a contraption on top of this hill to make it look like I was looking up into the horizon. Now, the little contraption behind me here that I set up to be a UFO, again, it wasn't that hard. I mean, it's essentially a light and something to kind of give the light a little different shade of color, which I really wasn't too pleased with. Quite honestly, it wasn't the best fake UFO ever. But the idea was to give you, the viewer, how easy it is to mistake something for a UFO that isn't a UFO at all. It's just the way light filters through the wood. In fact, as we look at that footage that I shot just down this hill, probably about 800 feet, if you'll notice, it seems to spin. It seems to move. Most of that movement was accidental on my part, just holding a tight zoom with the camera. The way that it looks like it's spinning is just the way light filters through the woods, because there's still leaves on the trees. It's fall here in Tennessee, but there's a lot of leaves still on the trees. And so it makes it look like that light behind me is spinning. Also, the air, it's cold in the air, there's moisture in the air, and that affects how the light looks as well. Now, believe it or not, the purpose of this exercise or showing you this isn't to prove how most UFOs are fake. Actually, it's just the opposite. It's not easy to fake a UFO. Yes, thousands of people have faked UFOs, crop circles, and everything else. But this little simple exercise that was sort of a spur of the moment thing, it took me well over an hour to pull it off with things at home. Much less complicated hoaxes take even longer to pull off. And so people that fake UFOs or do the whole hoax thing, there's a lot of energy behind that. So number one, you probably need a job. But number two, in order to pull off an elaborate hoax, you have to really, really want to do it. And the idea that there's just that many people wanting to pull off a hoax, well, that's sort of a myth. There's just not that many people out there willing to pull a hoax on that grand of a scale. Yes, there are a lot, but not as many people as there are people seeing actual UFOs. So technically, yes, UFOs are easy to fake. But the problem is that the vast majority of the UFOs that have been spotted, they're just not fake. It's kind of easy to identify a fake UFO. For instance, our UFO that you just saw is right here. I was just down the hill and I used a couple of bottles of water, a fan, a Halloween decoration, and this little bulb that I have no idea what it is, but it fits in the yard for some reason here. So it's that simple to fake a UFO. A lot of faking of UFOs can be dangerous. I actually thought of one time that used a very large balloon and strobe lights, but the fact remains is that it was illegal to do what I wanted to do, so I couldn't do it. I looked into it. I was gonna fake the UFO. It was gonna be a lot of fun, but you just can't do that. It's illegal. So a lot of faked UFOs, they're easy to identify. They're easy to spot. Even in today with our awesome CGI, it's hard to fake a UFO. So, if most UFOs aren't hoaxes, then what are they? Because there's some real spooky stuff going on all around us. So what's that? You want to take me in your spaceship and abduct me and do experiments on me? That sounds terrifying, but I'm totally down with that. But I gotta finish this YouTube video, okay?
Alien abductions are one of those weird things that fascinates me. A couple of years ago, I spent well over 1,000 hours going through document after document about alien abductions. Some crazy stuff. Too much for this video, but it's very interesting. Will you wait just a minute? These guys are so demanding. You know, alien abductions are for a whole other topic. Sort of. I mean, we're going to touch on that just a little bit because it's a pretty big deal. I mean, tens of thousands of people claim to have been abducted by UFOs. And I mean, they've taken lie detector tests and everything. So what exactly does that mean? I don't know. Last year alone, well over 100,000 people saw UFOs. So if we're not seeing elaborate hoaxes, which would have been my first guess 20 years ago, they're just all hoaxes, then what are people seeing? There are people that do scientifically break it down and propose what people are seeing in the sky because they just automatically assume it can't be aliens. I mean, scientists have already told us a million times there are no aliens that have visited this planet. NASA denies it. Every leading scientist in the world denies it. Well, not every leading scientist, but most of them. If you ask any of the great evangelists of science today, they will tell you that we've never been visited by UFOs. Okay, for right now, we're going to take their word on it. But here's my question. What are people seeing? Well, it falls into these categories. First, misidentification. That's right. People are just identifying things as UFOs that aren't really unidentified. They're unidentified to that individual, but they're not unidentified universally. In other words, put another set of eyes on it and the other person will be able to say, no, that's not a flying saucer, that's a Frisbee, you moron. And then there are people who, it's not necessarily that they misidentify something, but there's something much stranger than that. Much stranger. I'll be right with you. Much stranger than misidentification. It's not strange in a, ooh, strange thing, but it's something that we've never seen except over the past 10 to 15 years. One of them is what I'm holding in my hand right now. More people are pointing their cameras at the sky than ever before. And that's interesting. It's interesting because we're seeing a lot of things and recording a lot of things and have evidence of things that we didn't used to have evidence for. That's a big deal. Will you wait just a minute? These guys are so impatient. We also have a lot more things flying in the air. My son has a drone. The neighbors have a drone. I can't even go deer hunting without somebody buzzing my blind or my deer stand with a drone. Everybody has a drone these days, like military-grade drones flying around everywhere. I mean, that's a lot more to look at. And if you hook some lights up to a drone, sure, you can fake some UFOs, but by the way, those are kind of hard to fake too. We were just talking about how hard it is to fake a UFO. People are beginning to identify a drone from a pretty far away distance. They're able to go, oh, that's a drone right there. Driving down the interstate, people are able to identify a drone. So a lot of the UFO sightings, the first thing people will say is it was not a drone because they know what a drone looks like. Will you wait 1 second? I'm coming. Have you ever noticed how impatient aliens are? My goodness, I just need to finish this. Anyway, drones are another thing that people see that sometimes they do misidentify as a UFO, but we're not seeing that as much now as we were 5 or 10 years ago. But one thing's for sure is this little piece of equipment that I'm holding in my hand, it really is capturing more things in the sky than anybody knew was there. Okay, I'm coming, but I'm starved to death, so we need to make this quick because I got a sandwich waiting on me, you know what I'm saying? So what do you mean I can't go? I'm rejected? That's absolutely ridiculous. On what grounds? That's alien discrimination. Because I'm a Christian. What? Now remember, I ask you to watch all of this video despite your personal beliefs in UFO or your personal beliefs in general. Whether you're a Christian or not a Christian, whatever category you fall into, I'm asking you to consider the following information when it comes to UFOs and Christians. You might be shocked, but I do ask that you finish watching this video. And if you have watched this far, if you don't care to click the like button for me, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, normally YouTube videos are about 10 to 15 minutes minutes long. This one's going to run longer. It's going to run closer to 25 or 30 minutes. Go ahead and subscribe, click the notification. We would greatly appreciate that. And we would also love it if you would join our Facebook page, and feel free to comment however you like at Bill Marion Life, or you can follow me on Twitter at Bill and Carolyn. I would greatly appreciate that as well. But I'm really hoping that you'll stick around and watch the next 15 minutes of this video, because it's something that people just aren't talking about around the UFO community, or any community involving a discussion about UFOs.
People are addicted to the unknown, to the mysterious. Right now, Stranger Things on Netflix is all the rage. I like it. It's pretty good popcorn TV, but the real entertainment behind Stranger Things is a mystery. By the way, it's awesome seeing Sean Astin. He's pretty amazing. But thank you, J.J. Abrams, who has nothing to do with this show. But he has us all abuzz about mysteries being more important than the ending of a movie, or even the storyline for that matter. And I was the first to jump into the concept over a decade ago. I love J.J. Abrams, but now not so much. I mean, I still like J.J. Abrams, but I also like a solid ending as well. Okay, so J.J., I like you, and I enjoy most of your movies, but personally, you still owe me for that last season of Lost that I'll never get over, and I'll gladly receive payment in the form of a rebooting of Lost and letting me write for you. It's probably not going to happen, but there it is. It's on the table for your consideration. But seriously, Stranger Things is all about nostalgia and mystery, and it works for now, but eventually, they have to give up the truth behind the whole thing, or whatever's going on. In other words, what's really happening. Despite amazing characters and storylines, eventually they have to settle the score and let us know what's happening in the show. This is once they've milked the storyline as far as possible and the fans start dropping like flies, and it's always a disappointment to find out the real ending. UFOs are kind of the same way. Ufology has all of the same ingredients of a good mystery nostalgic novel going all the way back to Roswell. And if you don't know about Roswell, I'll leave a link in the description. But truthfully, it goes back thousands of years way before Roswell. Mystery is fun. Mystery buys a lot of popcorn. But at the end of the day, we need resolve. And it seems that more and more people are wanting serious answers when it comes to UFOs. But the problem is that no one knows where to go for authentic answers. And this is why some people hate talking about UFOs. This is how it works. The United States government denies the existence of UFOs, but it admits that we collect and catalog information pertaining to UFO sightings, which that's weird. NASA states emphatically that they're not into the UFO finding business, but that it's their job to explore the cosmos and find life and, oh yeah, keep our satellites up and running. And let's be honest, NASA is sort of a part-time front for military intelligence, and there's nothing wrong with that, it pays the bills. But by their own mission statement, that I'm paraphrasing, they don't have to talk about UFOs or UFO sightings because it's not in their job description. So how do we learn about UFOs? Well, for starters, we learn from people like this guy.
My next guest alleges that a fraction of the sightings are indeed extraterrestrial. His name is Dr. Stephen Greer, and he's the founder of the Disclosure Project, an organization that works with retired military and government officials in order to get Congress to investigate UFOs.
Question, because, you know, it's the weight of the evidence, and it's like J.L. Hynek, who is the Air Force Blue Book guy. He said, look, he says, it's an embarrassment of riches. We have so much material. We have so much information. But if you take for one case that we have in the Disclosure Project, and that's a man who was the senior guy at the FAA, and they were tracking this object over Alaska, and it was at one point in the sky, and in one sweep of the radar, it would be 40, 50 miles away, moving completely non-linearly, not like an airplane. And we have the radar tape, we have the pilot report, we have all the evidence from the airline and the government. And this whistleblower who came forward, John Callahan, he said, I'm one of the senior officials in the government that not only have the evidence, was part of a cover-up to keep the American people ignorant about it.
And so talk about the Disclosure Project. It's the organization that you founded. Why and how did you formulate it?
You know, it grew out of an interest I had since I was a child. My uncle was an aerospace engineer and with Northrop Grumman. And I had a sighting when I was a young child.
Thousands of people are joining Dr. Greer's Disclosure Project. It's a pretty big deal. Maybe it's because Dr. Greer was an ER doctor, or maybe it's because he seems like such a nice guy, genuine and authentic. It's even said that if anybody can crack the code on UFOs and get Washington or the Air Force or NASA to come off some authentic, genuine information about flying objects in the night sky, it'll be Dr. Greer. I mean, Dr. Greer's not just in the who's who in the UFO world, he's in the who's who in the Washington world as well. He's met with some pretty important people, but not so fast.
So a little about Dr. Stephen Greer. Right now, he's the unofficial but official go-to guy when it comes to UFOs. Why Dr. Greer? Well, first, he's a real doctor, an ER doctor to be exact, and he stepped away from practicing medicine to start the Disclosure Project to pressure the government to release information pertaining to UFOs. But Dr. Greer isn't just about UFO sightings. He believes that he can connect with UFOs and teach others to connect with UFOs in such a way that people are actually able to contact both visually and spiritually with space aliens, and he does this through guided meditation and using positive energy. As a courtesy, I'll provide a link to his website in the description. Dr. Greer seems like a genuine person and a real nice guy, but please be advised, I do not endorse or agree with Dr. Greer's methods for a variety of reasons. And honestly, it's not because I think he's a charlatan. Like I said, I think Dr. Greer is pretty sincere, but using spirituality to connect with an unknown entity is dangerous because you have no idea what you're connecting with. Dr. Greer doesn't have enough information to open his conscious or to guide others to do the same to any entity that can't simply show up and have a normal conversation. To some people, I may sound narrow-minded, but if there's one thing that's proven true over the past thousands of years, humanity is easily conned by people or things pretending to have more information than what's really available. And in this case, I'm not even referring to Dr. Greer as the con artist. I believe there are entities on the other side, so to speak, but I don't think they're benevolent. Out of this world conversations of this magnitude that for some reason have to be shared in secretive meditation isn't new. It's been around for thousands of years, and it's never led to anything good, and it never leads to anything actually being disclosed. And yet Greer is increasing in followers, and copycats are showing up all over the place. Ufology is turning spiritual. Okay, do you remember at the beginning of this video when I talked about being a little biased? Well, here it goes. I am a Christian, and as a Christian, there are quite a few red flags when it comes to mixing New Age crystal-loving language and flagging down a UFO with my mental positive waves.
Don't hit me with them negative waves so early in the morning.
And about that myth we talked about earlier, Christians believe in all kinds of things that occupy the heavens, both good and bad things. And yes, biblically, those things are occasionally seen in the Bible. Look it up. Many Christians are expecting things to show up in the sky that don't normally belong there. I'm not saying Christians believe in life on other planets or intelligent life for that matter. Christians are as divided as everyone else on that topic. Some say no because it would be in the Bible, possibly I guess, while others say it's possible because God didn't have to tell us about everything He created, which is true too. But to believe that the Christian belief structure would simply fall apart if spaceships showed up is nonsense. In fact, there are thousands of Christians who have seen unexplained things in the sky for thousands of years, and Christians wrote and write about those events. But what you won't find are devout Christians who have been abducted by aliens. That's right, you just won't find it. And maybe that has something to do with the common theme among those who state that they've been abducted by aliens. First, there's almost always something sexual involved. That's all I'll say about that. But then there's what the aliens tell the abductees. Again, I'll paraphrase. The aliens state, we're like Jesus Christ in the Bible, only He wasn't God. He was an alien like us, and we want to teach all of humanity to do the things He was able to do. Yeah, see, that's never going to fly with Christians like me who believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and that He was born of a virgin, that He was murdered for our sins, and that He rose from the grave, and that by believing in Christ, we're reconciled to God. Even if you're not a Christian, don't you find it odd that out of all the religions of the world, in most alien abductions, the victims tell this very similar story, always having to do with Christianity? Let's say you are an atheist. Scientifically, wouldn't it be advantageous for the aliens doing the abducting to be a little more, I don't know, inclusive? Perhaps using other religions for their analogy as well? There's something strangely familiar about what these alleged aliens are telling the abductees. It's in the Bible. It's in the book of Genesis, when the snake, Lucifer, bends the truth by explaining that by disobeying God, Adam and Eve would be like God. In both cases, it's denying the deity of God. And in the UFO community, this mentality and ideology is growing exponentially. It's making ufology more of a religion in many circles than the cataloging and identifying of flying objects. Unfortunately, many well-meaning Christians dismiss UFOs altogether for this very reason, and that's unfortunate because there are a lot of legitimate things being seen in the sky that just can't be explained. What makes the UFO narrative so interesting to some is that there are so many narratives. There's a lot of conflicting information in varying UFO circles, and many UFO enthusiasts sort of pick and choose bits and pieces of these narratives to explain UFOs, even if those narratives are conflicting. But all of these groups demand full disclosure, and that's the day when the government comes out and spills the beans and tells everyone the truth about UFOs. And there's a really big problem with the idea of government-led full disclosure. The obvious assumption is that there's actually one office that holds all the information about UFOs under lock and key, and that's not a good assumption, because big government secrets simply don't work that way. And giving the government that much power over information that they may or may not have gives our elected officials a powerful tool in a desperate propaganda war. I guess that's far-fetched. Or is it? Still, some blame the government, or at least a shadow government like a nameless corporate government inside the official government, for all the secrecy surrounding UFOs, and there's merit to that point. Our entire military-industrial complex works this way, or else we couldn't keep our military secrets from our enemies. Which leads me to another point about things being misidentified as UFOs. A lot of UFOs are experimental military aircraft. This happens on the West Coast a lot, and it may be the reason why California is seeing so many UFOs these days.
So let's recap. Most UFOs have a logical explanation. The person witnessing the event may not have a clue as to what they're witnessing, but other people do. I guess you could call these temporary UFOs, and by far they make up the majority of UFO sightings. And yes, of course, people do fake UFOs, and some of the most famous UFO sightings, they have been fake. But the truth is that most UFO sightings are not a part of a hoax. Hoaxes are actually very rare in the UFO community. Many UFOs are unexplained weather phenomena. This happens a lot in the Midwest and on the West Coast. Occasionally here in the Southeast, we might get thrown a little curveball by our weather and see something in the sky weather-related that would make us think about a UFO. But mainly that's in the Midwest and the Southwest and even the Northwest, where they have strange weather phenomena that could give them the idea that there is a UFO. This also happens where there's a lot of volcanic activity, because you have some strange things that happen in the sky due to gases being released from underneath the earth. And a lot of UFO sightings, a great deal of UFO sightings, are experimental military aircraft, or just military aircraft in general that people aren't used to seeing on a day-to-day basis. And still, when you explain away thousands of UFOs due to weather phenomenon or due to experimental military aircraft or misidentification, when you minus all of those things away, you still have thousands of unidentified flying objects both day and night that we don't have a clue as to what they are. I'm Bill Marion. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of A Nose for Life. I hope you'll click that like button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And I really want to hear what you think about UFOs. We'd love to hear about it in the comments, or you can join our Facebook page at Bill Marion Life. We have some great conversations there. Thank you so much for watching. You have a fantastic week.